Good afternoon, everyone. So, is everybody able to view variables, buttons, and keys presentation on your screen? And is my voice clear to everyone? Okay. So we'll continue with this, right? Variables, buttons, and keys. So we discussed about variables, where variable can take or hold various different values, and it is it's a storage independent of your objects and collections. Apart from your whatever database values you store, it's something different from that. It is not dependent on what ledger master or what voucher you are on. Moreover, it helps you to control the behavior of a report. So what exactly the variable definition helps me to do is, it helps me to create a bridge between my Tally interfaces. Now, what are the Tally interfaces we have? We have report, we have button, we have menu, we have table. So there are various Tally interfaces, user interfaces, or you can say something that customers can see on the screen, to act as a bridging element between various interfaces of Tally UIs, probably from report to report, or report to button, or button to report, or from data to report, or report to data. To do these interactions, variable is the element that helps me to do this entire check. So there were 4 basic variable attributes that we spoke about. We have default, we have type, we have persistent, and we have volatile. Type is to inform what type of data would this particular variable hold. This could be of type string, date, logical, amount, quantity, every data type that your field can consist of. Then we spoke about default. Whenever a variable is introduced to your system, that is the first time the variable definition that you have provided is introduced to your Tally. For the first time you open your Tally and the file is attached, what will be the default value? You may provide, you may not provide, depending upon the customer requirement. Persistent, when a variable value has to persist even after you quit your Tally applications or the sessions or various sessions of your Tally application. That is, once you quit Tally and you restart, the variable value, the last changed variable value, should be holded. For those kind of behavior, we require the variable value to be persistent. That is, only global values variables can be persistent. Now, when we talk about variable being global, that is nothing but your system variable. Apart from your definition of your variable, that is how it should behave, what will be the data type it can hold, and whether it should save itself or not. Apart from that, the system, under the system variable definition, you need to provide your variable name, which declares or which informs the system that this variable value has to be saved even after the Tally application is quit. So every persistent variable has to be a part of the system variable. Am I clear? Then we have a volatile attribute. This volatile attribute is nothing but to help us to stack a variable value, and this is required specifically when we need to have a drill down effect of a report. Now, obviously, when we are trying to make a drill down report, I do not know up to what extent it will drill. Probably could be 3, at times could be 5, at times could be 8, could be 10. We cannot define it. So how do we take care of this? By defining a variable to be volatile and regionalize the same variable. Now what will happen is this particular variable will have the behavior of stacking its value, which is nothing but basically last in first out. The variable values will be pushed in and out. So the last variable value pushed in will be the first one to be pushed out while you are doing an escape or coming back to your main screen. A default behavior is every variable can act as volatile. However, by default, every variable persistent will be no. Hence, you will explicitly will have to mention persistent : yes, along with which it has to be defined under system variable. Every persistent variable has to be a part of your system variable, and the values of the system variable will be stored under a file called tally cefg.tsf. I hope everybody is now clear on this and are completely clear on this part. Right. Then there is a scope of variable, classifications of the behavior of the variable. One is local, one is global. When a variable is associated to a particular report, then it's a local variable. And when a variable is mentioned under system variable, it becomes a global variable. And explicitly, if you require, you can make a variable act as a local, while associating it to a particular report. So the moment I just simply define the variable, the mere existence does not allow me to use the variable. I explicitly call it under a variable attribute at my report level, and I can change the variable value. Please note, set attribute at report level always takes its first parameter to be a variable name, and the second parameter as variable value. This variable value can be a field reference or another variable or another global formula or a local formula. Clear? Yes or no? Right. Then we have global variable. As I said, variable also is required to help us to interact between the various interfaces or various objects of TDL. This could be data interface, this could be data objects or interface objects, report to report or report to button or button to report or collection to report or report to button or line, anything. So variable is where it comes into existence. A variable which has to interact between two interfaces is supposed to be a part of the system variable, because the moment you associate it explicitly, it acts as a local variable, and hence when you make a change at that variable, it won't affect the other interface. The moment you do not provide it under a system variable, you will have to explicitly mention it into that particular interface, and the moment you specify it under a specific interface, the moment it moves from that interface, that variable value has no meaning. It's zero. It's like a black hole, empty. So when you need to need a variable that has to carry its value from an interface to an interface, it has to be a part of a system variable. And this is the reason why every persistent variable has to be a system variable, but every system variable may not be persistent. Is this very clear? It's a golden rule. Everyone. Right. So there were certain things I gave you. Then again, field acting as a variable. Then we take up this drill down report is when we will do this in more detail, where we field acting as a variable, why we would require field acting as a variable and why not explicitly mention it. We will see this when we are going to look at the drill down report. Then we spoke about modifying the variable value. One we saw is at report level we provide set, that is we provide an initial value of the variable while we are opening that report. Then there is an attribute or an action called as field level called as modifies. Please remember this because we will require this when we are writing a drill down report. Field acting as a variable, variable volatile, and field level having modifies. We will require all these three while we are writing a drill down report. Then at button level, there is an action called set. This action indicates to be takes a variable name and the third parameter as the variable value. It is similar to set that we have at the report level. However, the difference is at report level set is considered to be an attribute and at button level set is considered to be an action. However, the syntax is same. At report level we will write set colon variable name colon the value it has to change to, and it makes it as an initial value. At button level we write action colon set colon variable name colon the value it has to change to, and the variable value will change only after the button is hit, right? But how to create a button? So what are actions? Actions are triggered through menu, buttons and shortcut keys. Menu, we have already seen one action, that is display. Buttons and shortcut keys we have already seen on our tally screens. Hello, am I clear now? Am I able to hear? Can you hear me?
Keep disconnecting always. We lost around 30 minutes session.
30?
Yeah, we are not able to connect it. Just now, 5 minutes back, it's connected again.
Yeah, now I think that's what I said, that I will just reconnecting once again after 15 minutes. Right. Okay. Muthu. Yes, Muthu. Were we connected when we were on the screen? Everybody was able to hear me when I spoke about modifies?
No, ma'am. Hello, can you just go through modifiers once again, ma'am?
Okay. Right. When we were talking about modifying a variable value, there were three. There was a modify. We can modify a variable value at report level. We can provide set to provide an initial value to that variable. Then during at field level also, I can modify a field value. I can modify a variable value at the field level. Now there is a connectivity that we have. You need to remember when we write the drill down report is when we will make a utilization of this particular behavior of variable or the attribute called modifiers for the variable name. So there would be one volatile attribute at variable level, and modifies at field level. We will require this when we are writing our drill down report. Then we have set action of button definition. So at button, we have an action called set, the variable name and the variable value. This is similar to something what we have at report level. The only difference is button level set is an action, report level set is an attribute. Reason, once at report level, once you hit the report gets generated. So the set attribute at report level that we use to change the variable value just provides an initial value to the variable when the report is open. However, the action set that we have at variable set at button level helps us to change the variable value only after the button is clicked. So that's the difference. Otherwise, the behavior is exactly the same. Both helps us to change the variable value. However, at report level, set helps us to give the initial value while the report is open, whereas the button helps us to change the variable value. Fine? Fair enough? Now, the actions that we have are triggered through menu, buttons and shortcut keys. Menu we have already seen. We have seen one action called display, and we have been displaying our reports. Then we have buttons and shortcut keys. Menu, when you select, the action is executed. Button bar, we have seen the top bar, the right bar and the bottom bar. And keys are the shortcut keys that are hidden ones. Something like Control-Alt-C, Control-Alt-V, Shift-Enter. All these are shortcut keys. These are hidden. You can't see that. But when you hit, it performs an action. So those are hidden keys. Keys are available but are hidden. And then every shortcut key is associated to a button. So for the button, there are three important attributes. Key, that's the shortcut key, whether it is F1 or Alt F1 or Alt A or Control A. Action, you can use the attribute called action, and there's a list of actions we have at button level. And a title, an obvious thing, something that you see on your screen should have a title. So the interfaces that we have are having titles. Your report has a title, your button has a title, and we will also see that your table will also have a title. Okay? Then there is a button definition, key name, title, whatever you would like to provide, action, the set action. Okay? Set action is one of the actions that a button performs. There are a list of actions that a button attribute action can perform, but one action, one button. Clear? So there are some set of rules that you have to provide for the key indication. All buttons can be a combination of control plus a key. A key could be your number, your alphabets, or your function key. Then a combination of Alt plus a key, that is Alt plus 1, your numbers, your alphabets, or your function key. Button cannot have a key combination of control plus Alt plus something, but a key, the hidden key, can be a combination of Control plus Alt with a key, or even the Shift or the Enter. Right? And very important thing that you need to remember, none of the titles should be very long while you are giving a title to the button, because the moment the title is too long, you cannot see it, it is too compressed, and then it entirely fails the purpose of having the button, because the user cannot see what is written as the title, and it's a tendency to just do a hittle trial because he does not know what the button does. Then we gave some question answers that we went through. That's all for the variables and buttons. Right? Yes. Right. And then we did one try it out on the button. Don't worry about the switch, absolutely okay. One click, another click. So fair enough. On the click of button, I am changing the the background color and making a field visible and invisible. So you see, one variable is doing two tasks for me. One, it is making my field invisible and also changing my background color to red. So it is not necessary for every action you need to have different variables. Depending upon the requirement, the variable values can change. I hope I am clear. Everybody? Yes? No?
Clear. Clear.
Right? Okay, great. Fine. So, everybody had enough cup of coffee, tea, whatever you need, right? Because now we're going to start with the very important thing, that is the backend of Tally. Right? So we're talking about the backend of Tally, that is objects and collections. So interface, everybody is clear up till now, right?
Yes, interface is clear, ma'am.
Right, I can see.
We are having one doubt about the switch, but we will talk after this, because it's a basic doubt. I sent you an email actually. We can talk via email.
Right. Switch, you don't worry, because switch attribute we will come across multiple times when we write the code further. So that's absolutely okay not to understand it. So that's absolutely fine. Right?
Yeah,
so
rest everything is okay.
Right.
Perfect.
Interfaces are okay. Okay, there is one question from Muttu. He says, I could not show a button in my try it out. Muttu, when the button is not shown, there is one reason, that at form level you have not mentioned it. If the form level you have mentioned the button, you have given the title, then it has to work. So we will check your code why it is not working. Okay? So don't worry, we'll see it offline why the code is not working. You can send me the mail. Okay? If possible, we'll do it through mail. Right? Yeah. So very important thing, objects and collection. What's an object? Here we are talking about a generic object of Tally. Now this object refers to the database of Tally. Basically, object stores a data in a hierarchical structure. Now what's a hierarchical structure? Is nothing but like a tree structure. An object is made up of methods and collections. Method is used to retrieve the data, and a collection is a group of objects. So a little vicious circle, because I just said object is made up of methods and collections, and a collection is a group of objects, right? So it's looking like a very vicious circle, right? So let me just give you a little reframe my sentences on this. A primary object stores data in a hierarchical structure or a tree-like structure or an organization chart kind of structure. The primary object is made up of methods and sub-collections. Methods are used to retrieve the final data, and a sub-collection is a group of sub-objects. Am I making sense now? Base is, ledger is an object. It stores data in a hierarchical structure. This ledger object is made up of methods and collections like the address. Methods are used to retrieve the data like the name of the ledger, the group of the ledger, the phone number of the ledger. A collection, a sub-collection is a group of sub-objects, like each line of an address is one object. If you have 5 lines, that means the collection of addresses having 5 objects. Clear? We just see a picture of this. How does it look like? Object, a ledger object, has methods and collections. Now, it's not necessary to have a collection, but an object will at least have few sets of methods, 1 or 2 at least. Then only that object makes sense, but may or may not contain collection. So, one object has methods and collections. This collection is a group of objects, which means each object of this collection may further have methods or further have collections. This collection is again having object and will further have its hierarchy till the level where the object only contains methods. Making sense to everybody? So let's take an example of a basic or probably a ledger object. Probably everybody has seen a ledger in Tally. Accounts info, ledger, create. We'll create very basic ledger. We'll just deactivate everything, right? A very basic ledger is what we are going to look into. I will create a ledger by name, say TSPL India, under sundry debtors. Maintained, obviously it's a debtor, so maintained balance is bill by bill, yes. I'll say 45 days credit period, and I provide an opening balance. How many opening balances can you provide to a ledger? Obvious one, right? You can provide one opening balance. So I say 15,000 DR is my opening balance. However, when it's a party, you can provide its bill references when you provide an opening balance, right? So I have bill breakups. Now, how many bills can I provide to a bill reference of an opening balance of a party? 1, 2, 3, 25,
as many as we want.
As many as I want. Then what's the purpose of giving the opening balance?
No, like example in my closing, if I'm having around 10 bills for if I'm going for a different software to this software, I can make it as an opening balance so that I can get the report bill-wise.
Right. But when I talk about giving unlimited, there has to be a restrictions, right? Now, you are right. I can give as many as bills I want till the provided amount is exhausted. You are absolutely right. So I can give as many bills as I want till the amount is exhausted. So starting from very base thing, I will give my opening balance, say on 31st/3/2005. Could you just mute yourself?
Yeah.
Right. So on 31st/3/2005, I have a bill name called V Bill 21. Say some due date it has. I provide amount as 5,000 DR. I can provide more bills. So I say V Bill 34 and I provide 8,500, and then I provide another bill, V Bill 108, 1,500, and my value is exhausted, right? Now, each row, all these bills are related to TSPL India. So I have one major object called TSPL India, the ledger, has a name called TSPL India, has an opening balance 15,000, and has bill allocations as my collection. This is a collection because I can have multiple bills. It's not just one bill. It's multiple bills. Each row, please clear it. I say each row, that's 1, 2, 3, is one bill object. And this object of bill has methods, date, name of the bill, due date, amount, and whether it's a debit or a credit value. Each row if you see, each row has same information. So each row is one object, and a group or a collection of a group of these objects together is one sub-collection. So that's how it defines what I am trying to say. Objects. Primary objects store a data in a hierarchical structure. Primary object is made up of methods and collections, or rather I could say sub-collections. Methods are used to retrieve the data. A collection is group of similar objects together. My bill allocations, all bill collections, all bill objects are of same kind? Yes. So a group of same kind can be a collection, and this is a sub-collection. Am I clear? Is this definition of object clear to everybody? Yes or no?
Clear? Yes.
Clear? Right. So basically, there are two types of objects we classify in Tally: interface objects and data objects. The interface objects are what we did up till now. That's menu, button, table, report, form part, line field. All these are interface objects. And then we have data objects, basically classified as internal objects and TDL objects. TDL objects are further bifurcated into static objects or hard-coded objects and dynamic objects. Right? In these sessions, we will be covering the internal objects and the static hard-coded objects. Dynamic objects wouldn't be covered as it requires a little more technical knowledge for integration purposes. Right? So we'll cover in detail the internal objects and the hard-coded objects. So basically, every interface that we have has to be connected to an data object for it to retrieve itself. Okay, so there is a connectivity that I have to develop between the GUI and the backend. The establishment has to be done for showcasing the data. Hence, every interface that you see is in context of a data object. So every interface object always exists in the context of a data object. No matter what you see on your screen, there has to be an existence of a data context in case there is a value retrieved from your database. Now, as I spoke about, we have various interface objects like the report, the form, the path, the line, and the field, right? Where can I connect my data? Obviously, there is a possibility of multiple scenarios. So the connectivities can be done at the report, path, line, and field. Please note, can be done. It's not has to be done. I'm saying the association can be done at the report, path, line, and field. Note, form, we do not provide object context, which means it will inherit its data context from report if specified. As if it is anyways not required, does not matter. You can provide it at path level, or you may provide it at line level or at the field level, depending upon what kind of report are you trying to generate. I am saying can be done, not necessarily has to be done. 90% of the time, the association will be done at the line level. Rest 8% to 9% will be done at the report level, and rest 2% is done at the path level. We do connect object at field level, but that's again the rarest of the rarest cases. So we may require to do it at all the levels, we may require to do it only at one level. Completely depends upon the usage or the utility or the output that you require. Note that data manipulations can be done only through the interface objects, and the value of the methods or formulas can be evaluated based on the object contexts only. Say you are at a report and it has a data context where it is talking about stock item, and you suddenly of a blue moon say, no, I want it of ledger. Cannot happen. If your data object context is stock item, you get values from the stock item only. Clear? Am I clear? At least one person say yes.
Ma'am, once again we have to repeat, ma'am. Little bit doubts.
Right. Okay. One, there is something called as interface objects, and there is something called as data object. Interface is something that users see on the screen, and data is something that is at the back end. Now, whenever there is a front end and a back end, we always require a mediator, or we always require a connectivity that we have. Am I right? Correct. So there is something called as interface object, and there is something called as data object. Now, every interface that you see in Tally always exists in the context of a data object. So there has to be a connectivity. Without this connectivity, you cannot have an existence of a report. So every report that you see in Tally is dependent, or it's in the context of a data object. So whichever report you see, the interface objects will always exist in the context of data object. So what you call in your data object is what you will see on your screen. Now the associations. Now these connectivities that there is a UI and there is a backend. To what all levels can you do this connectivity is something called as report, path, line and field. You cannot have a context at the form level. Form will inherit it from the report. However, it is not necessary to do a connectivity at all the levels. The connectivity can be done at the report, path, line and field. It can be done, but not have to be done. So, depending upon the utility of the report or the requirement of the output, you can have the connectivity at the report level. At the report level, you might just simply call a simple one object details and you showcase it. However, depending upon the utilities, you might have to connect something at your line level or at your path level. 90% of the time, the connectivity of the data object will be at the line level. Rest 8% could be at the report level. There's a chance of 2% to be at the path level, and the rarest of the rarest cases that you will see that you have done in data object context at the field level. Am I clear? The modifications, the changes of the data that you have to do, the manipulation will happen only through the GUI or Tally interfaces. So whenever you have to change the data, you will have to call the data on the interface so the user can see. You will allow the user to make changes and save back. Well, there are not many commands to do all this. There are simple commands that are developed through TDL. So, you do not have to worry about that. Very simple commands are there to do the connectivity, modify and push back and save. So there is no, I can say that there is no rocket science. It's a plain simple English that you have to do this. But then you have to remember the plain simple English that is happening. But you should know the technical things happening behind the scenes. That's it. But things are very simple. And whatever values you call, or what are the formulas you call, or whatever the evaluations of the functions you do will depend upon the object context that you have connected. Clear? So if being at a report level and I would like to see some output of a ledger, and the association is done for the stock item, you cannot see something for the ledger. So you have to ensure that whatever connectivities you do are in context of the data of the object. So there are some rules that we understand is interface objects always exist in the context of a data object. Associations of the data object can be done at report, path, line and field. Manipulations will happen only through the interface objects that we spoke about, and the methods and the formulae that you give as an output will be always in the context of the data object that you have associated your interface with, right? So we have collection. Now, why a collection as a separate clarification do we need? We already spoke. Object stores data in a hierarchical structure. It is made up of methods and sub-collections. Method is to retrieve the data. A collection or a sub-collection that we spoke about is a combination of sub-objects which are of similar kind. But when I revamped or reframed this same definition, I said, a primary object is made up of methods and sub-collections. A sub-collection is made up of group of sub-objects together. This is when we have to showcase one object, that is one ledger. When I would like to see a group of ledgers, whatever, I will not create one ledger. There are 15,000 or lakhs of ledgers that I have created. So if I have to see this entire set of lakh of ledgers together, what do I have to do? I will have to group them under one roof. So that's a group of collection. Now this group of this collection can be a group of objects or collections or both. Did I confuse you further? Okay, now let me just revise what I spoke about. There is one primary object called ledger. This is one ledger, right? This ledger has name. This is name. Name is one method. Why one method? Because generally every ledger has at least one name, so it's one method. Has a group name, a parent called sundry debtors, right? Now it has something called as opening balance, right? And because it's a party ledger, it has a group of bill allocations. It's a sub-collection because my bill cannot exist without my ledger. But is my ledger dependent on something? My creation of ledger, does it have a dependency? No. But my bill creation has a dependency of my ledger name. So every ledger is a primary object, and every bill allocation that I have is a sub-collection because it has a dependency on my ledger object. Clear? Okay. Now, this is group of sub-collections or same type of data together. When this same type of data together it's a sub-collection. Now, when I want my ledgers to be displayed, it has to be a group of collections again, and this is a group of primary collections together, and it can hold primary objects, something that is independent of itself, or could be a group of collections, probably my ledger and my group name and my stock item name. I dump everything into one particular report. Then that's a group of collections together. So a primary collection is a group of primary objects or primary collections or both. Here my primary objects again is made up of methods and sub-collections. Method is used to retrieve the data, and a sub-collection is a group of sub-objects of similar kind together. Now this collection can be populated from various objects or various data sources. Could be internal, could be as hard-coded, or could be from an external source. The ones which are from the internal source are referred as internal collections. And further, these collections are simplified within simple collection and compound collection. 99% of every collection that we have in Tally is a compound collection. There are just few, probably 2 or 3 such things that are simple collection, like your address is a simple collection, or we have address is a simple collection, unit of measure is a simple collection because just methods together. So we can have a group of methods together. Right? Am I clear up till now? Is this clear to everyone? Anybody gone for a tea break, is it?
No, ma'am, we are here. But it's a little bit confusion. Like, example, like, internal means, like, example, it's in the Tally database, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah, external means I can say if I'm importing anything from Excel via XML code, that is called external.
Correct.
Yeah, what is TDL? Like TDL means if I'm defining anything in TDL, it means like in TDL if I'm defining as my collections, like example. Yeah, okay.
TDL is nothing but the hard-coded static values that you can provide to your customer. Something like we have provided a hard-coded list like primary, main location.
Yeah, yes or no option. Yes or no, those things.
Yes, absolutely. Those are hard-coded values. So that is nothing but the TDL collection. That's a TDL object collection that we have created. Fair enough?
Yeah.
Right? So I'll just revise.
Yes.
And I'll just revise these few slides again, because the next step that we're going to do is something very interesting, something that we were waiting for. So let's start with this. I'll just reframe and revise everything. Object stores data in a hierarchical structure or a tree-like structure, something similar to what looks like an organization chart. Primary object is made up of methods and sub-collections. Methods are used to retrieve the data. A sub-collection is a group of sub-objects of similar kind. Interface objects always exist in the context of a data object. Association of data objects can be done at interface objects like the report, path, line, and field. Object association cannot be done at the form. It is inherited either from the report. Not necessary that you have to associate it at all levels. Depending upon the utility, you do a connectivity. As I'm repeating again, 90% of the time you do a connectivity at the line level, 8% of the time it's at the report level, rest 2% is at the path level, and then the rarest of the rarest cases would be at the field level. Any changes in the data object or the context can be done only through the interfaces that we have. Every formula or the method you provide in your report will be evaluated based on the object context you have provided at your interfaces. A primary collection is a group of objects or collections or both. Collections can be populated from various data sources, which could be internal, that is a Tally data source, external, that could be the XML or the ODBC and the DLL, and something that we have in between called the TDL defined objects, which are nothing but the hard-coded values like your yes-no table or the primary or main location. All these values are end of list. All these values are internal and you cannot modify them, right? So these are TDL hard-coded values. Finally, we have defined collections into two types, a simple collection and a compound collection. Most of the collections that you see are the compound collections. Simple collections would be like your address or the unit of measure, where we do not have further collections, or it's a simple method. Very crude, very basic, right? This is how you can create a collection, right? So what we will do is, we will just start implementing this gradually, slowly into our TDL code, right? So we'll write one basic TDL code first. I'll add a new file, properties, new file. Now I wouldn't give the name as try it out 4. Let me just give some very interesting name. Let me give it as list of ledgers. That's what I'll try to do first. See. And here I'll add a new line item. Currently, I am just copy pasting where I'm saying I'm adding a new item just before my quit. We haven't provided menus, right? So we'll just provide a new menu to see how it will work. I'll say try it out menu, and Y would be my shortcut key. Hopefully hasn't been utilized. Has it been? Yep. Okay. I'll change my menu itself. Joseph, I am writing into a new TDL itself, right? So don't worry, it's a new TDL. I will add my menu in my display menu. Right? Now this will get added here. So I have set it to add a menu just above my display menu. Let me validate. Does it exist? Yes, it does. Add a key item before my quick try it out Y. And Y is not used, right? Right. And I'll give action as menu, and I'll give the title as try it out. Now I have to define this menu. Everybody, this line is clear, right? Open square bracket, hash to modify my menu definition type. The name is display menu, close square bracket, add colon key item, where you want to add, before what, LOC quit, what key item, try it out, what is the key, why, what you want me to do when you click it on try it out, open a menu, what is the name of the menu, try it out, does this exist? No, so I have to define it. Open square bracket, menu, name, try it out. Clear, everybody? Everybody?
Yeah, clear,
Yes,
clear.
no.
Yeah, clear.
Great. Now, to this menu, I will give a new key item. Obviously, now this is a new key item, so I don't have to place it. It will always start from the top. So, key item, list of ledgers. L would be my shortcut key. When I click on this, you display a report name called list of ledgers. But does this name look very convincing when you actually have to locate it? Or probably it might clash with somebody else's TDL. So, always ensure you give the right naming conventions. TSPL list of ledgers. Name should be such that when you read the name, you are able to identify what is the report for. Okay? Now, this has to be a report name. I have declared it, what it is going to be. Click. It says description not found, so I have to define it. Open report, name of the report. Report should have a good title. Good. At least one person have observed that I haven't followed the naming conventions for my menu. Yes, you have to ensure it does not clash at all. Do not give spaces. Avoid giving that as much as possible. And do you know you can also provide a title to your menu? Please do not follow me blindly. Observe things, ask questions, very helpful to you. List of ledgers. Clear? Fine. Now, what does a report contain?
Form.
Absolutely right. A report contains form. Right? I'll use the same name. I just do a little change here. I write TSTL list of ledgers form. See, do not have to write form. Since we are the beginners, I am providing the name as form is so that we remember the suffix part is the definition type that you need to create. Then I have a definition to be created, form. Form has part. This part needs to be defined. Each part will have, the part will have a line. Line will have yield. And field is where I showcase my value as set as. Still we will right now hard code the value. I'll just say name. Okay, I'm just hard coding just to ensure that what I wanted is that what I am getting on my screen or not. So opening my tally. Is my try it out menu on the screen? No. It's into the display menu. Is it here? Yes. See the title? Do you have any question when you are looking at this menu?
No, ma'am, this is clear.
But how did this Did I mention in my menu? I didn't mention quit in my menu. Here's my code. Did I mention quit here? This is my menu. Have I mentioned quit here? No.
No, maybe by
So
default.
there would be. Yes, you're right. So there would be some list of things that will be happening automatically, and you would not even have to do anything for that. Yet it will be appearing on your screen. So don't find it to be very weird that, oh, I have known it's coming somewhere out of the blue moon and I don't know and I'm trying to delete, it's not happening. There are certain things that ought to be, your quit has to be there in your every menu. Hence, you cannot delete it. It has to be there, it has to be there. Okay? List of ledgers, and this is what I have defined, right? Fine. So until here, this is what I had written in my code, and this is, at least this part is coming fine. And at the end, I say end of file. Fine?
There is a disturbance, man. Some mobile ring is coming, I think. Why disturbance is there?
Okay, is this fine now?
Yeah, fine.
Right. Okay. Fine. So internal, external. So internal objects will be identified with the attribute called type. We already saw we have used type at a variable, but that indicates the data type. However, the type at collection indicates the data type and the object data type and not the value data type. There's a little thing that you need to understand. We have something called as object data type, and we have something called as the data type. The data types that we know are the strings and the numbers and logical amount. These are the value data types. Now, this type is related to the object types that we have in Tally. Now, a question here again. How do I know which are the internal data types available in Tally? I am a very new developer. How do I know? We have ensured that the TDL language is developed as simple as possible and into a plain English, as I said. So what you see over here, everything that you turn to singular becomes your object type. So here we have something called as groups. Make it singular, group. So that's an object type that we have. Ledgers, we have an object type called ledger. Cost categories, we have a single type called cost category. Cost centers, singular, cost center. Budgets, budget. Scenarios, scenario. Currencies, currency. Voucher types, voucher type. Serial number, serial number. It's already singular, obviously. Similarly, that works for my inventory payroll also and my inventory info also, and vouchers also. We have voucher, common. We don't have bifurcated among the accounting vouchers. That's only for GUI, but singular, voucher, type colon voucher, singular. Moreover, do you remember there was a tab in Tally Developer 9 that I said we will refer to when we speak about objects and collection chapter? If you cannot, I will just recollect it once again. In Tally Developer 9, bottom pane, we have tabs, project, definition, function, action, and schema. And this tab schema is what we have as the list of objects that we have in default Tally. Attendance type, batch, bill, budget, client role, CMP note, company note. Obviously, there are so many object types and things we have, but we'll start with very basic objects, something that you can see on the Tally screen very clearly as the menu. So we'll start with something very basic that we have, ledger. Okay, we will not get into a very complicated objects currently. We'll start with very simple thing that we know is ledger. Because whether you maintain only accounts, also at least you do create at least one ledger. You might not create groups and you just reuse the existing groups, but at least you will create one ledger because you will have to pass an entry, right? So this is something that all the developers I understand will be familiar with ledger object. Okay, so we will take our examples mostly based on ledger objects and stock item objects. Fair enough? Okay. So the internal objects will be connected through a collection via an attribute called type, which takes the type of an object. And then we have external or the hard-coded objects that we have. So they will be identified. They will also become a list, but you cannot modify them. They won't be modifiable by the user. The developer will have to modify the text file to modify these values. And that's what we had. Now here is something major thing that we'll come across. Object association. As I said, object association can be done at report, part, line and field. Repeat again, object association can be done at report, part, line and field. Form inherits the existence from the report. Again, as I'm repeating, association can be done at report, part, line and field, not necessarily at all the levels. Am I clear? Great. Once an object is associated at the parent, the child will inherit the object context, which means if the report level has an object context of ledger, the part line field will automatically inherit it to be a ledger object. If at part level I have associated ledger, from part, line and the hierarchy, entire hierarchy below the part will have that association. Right? Am I clear on this? Great. At report level, we have an attribute called object. That means at report level, a primary object can be connected. At report level, a primary object can be connected. Part level, we have two attributes. One is called part. Another one is called, at part level, my mistake. At part level, we have an attribute called object and an attribute called object EX. When an object attribute is used at part level, an assumption is there that the report object already exists. Right? Then when do I use an object EX attribute at part level? An object EX attribute is used at the part level when there is no association at report level, or the object that is available at the report level needs to be changed at the part level. This indicates that the report has a primary object. Part level, when I make use of the attribute called object, can be a secondary object, and with the help of the attribute called object EX, I can change the primary object context of the part. Generally, this kind of association is required in most of my invoices because my entire invoice would be in the object context of my object voucher, whereas a particular area where I am printing my company name, address, and other details has to be my company details. So there I will make use of the object EX. Clear, everybody? Yes? No?
Clear.
Right.
Hello? Right. Yeah, okay.
Then, at line level, we have something called as repeat. Until now, we were speaking about the attributes being made available at that particular definition. And we spoke about an object, at report an object, at path an object. However, when I would like to view the series of the objects, or basically the entire group of the objects, it is the line level where we will do the association. However, there is a repeat attribute at part level which helps me to connect the line I have at my part to a collection. Report level, I have an object attribute. Part level, I have two attributes called object and object EX to associate it to parts. But to associate an object context at line level, I have a repeat attribute at part definition which allows me to mention my line and the object, or and the collection to connect. And at the field level, we again have an object attribute, but at the field level, an object association can only be of a secondary object. Clear? So at report level, I can use object attribute and a primary object can be associated. At part level, I can use object EX and a primary object can be associated. Excuse me. And at report level, if I have an object attribute mentioned, I may use attribute object at part level, but that would again accept a secondary object and not a primary object. Repeat attribute at part level takes a name of a line and a collection. Depending what you have in your parent, this will take a name of a collection. This collection can be a sub-collection if my report or a part has an object association, or could be a primary collection where the previous ones are not connected at all. As I spoke about, field is in the rarest of rare cases where you have to do an object association, and this object association will always be a secondary object. Once the object is available at the parent, child simply inherits it. However, in case you require to change the object context, the attributes are available and you can switch the object contexts or the interfaces depending upon these object attributes that we have at various interfaces. Clear? Right? Okay, so I'll continue. So these are the examples that we have. Again, these are hard-coded examples and some vague examples that we have right now. Just read through once. don't worry. Even if you are not understanding, do not worry about understanding it, because we'll be writing codes on it. Okay? Everybody read through this? Great. So I think most of you have gone through it.
Yes, gone through that.
Right. So this is how our try it out report will look like. So this report says create a report displaying the name, stock group and closing balance of stock item ballpoint, which means I just need of one single object. So what will I do is, I'll go back to my report. Now it says I require for a particular object. So at report level, object attribute, because it's just one particular object attribute, object value that I need. What type of the object it is? Stock item. And what is the name of that stock item? Ball point. Is this clear to everybody? Connecting with single stock item name. Okay? So let's see, does it give any impact? F12, TDL, F4, display, try it out, list of ledgers. There is no change in it, because although I have mentioned the object, I haven't mentioned anything related to object. What is an object? How is an object made up of? How is an object made up of?
Stock item.
Object is made up of what?
Collections.
Methods and collections.
Methods and collections. Yes.
Method is that will help me to fetch the value. So I need to find out a method that will retrieve something for me. So what will I do is name colon. I will make use of my concatenation plus sign and I say dollar name, because I want the name of the stock item, right? Now let's refresh and see what it shows. F12, serial F4. You see, it is retrieving me the name. But then you could question, it could be the hard-coded value, right? I will do another thing. I will add one more field after this. I'm just copy pasting the previous field content and make small changes to it, and I will say the parent or the stock group falls under the stock group, and the method name for the stock group is $parent. Everybody following? The method name to retrieve the name is dollar name. Symbols and prefixes chapter, we spoke about special symbols, single at, double at, single dollar, double dollar, single hash, double hash, right? So now we are making use of single dollar, which indicates the method name. Dollar name responds to the method name. And stock group, the name of the stock group is referred to as dollar parent. Now let's refresh and check what does it retrieve to me. F12 TDL F4, stock group primary. You see this? And if I want the closing balance, same thing, field name with and set as closing balance. And the method name to know the closing balance is dollar closing balance. Please notice there is no space in between, and I have given C and B in capital. TDL is not case sensitive, it is space sensitive here, but I am giving C and B capital, so it's easy for me to read in future. C and B does not make a difference how I give. Fine? Clear? Yes, no. We'll just refresh and check. Oops, why didn't it work? Field 3, set as closing balance, dollar closing balance, F12, TDL F4. It's not giving me the output. Oh, is it that I have done something wrong? Whenever you do not get an output, start commenting your code in between to understand where the problem lies. I will just truncate this part of my code. So at least I should get the hard-coded value, right? Now let's refresh and check F12, TDL F4. Oh, I'm getting the hard-coded part, but the moment I uncomment this part, the closing balance part, I do not get an output. What could be the reason? Simple. This is a text. Okay, I think this is a no. This is a text. What type of closing balance does a stock item carry? What will be the data type? What's the data type of a stock item? There's one person, Shahid. Shahid said quantity, Ali said string, Joseph said numeric. Ali, you're wrong. Closing balance is never a string. Yes, in case of stock item, the closing balance is quantity. So I have two different data types to be displayed, which is not possible in the same field. So what do I do is, there's something called as data type casting, for which we have a function. I will convert this closing balance to type string with the help of a function which is called as $$ string. And this typecasts my method closing balance, which is of type quantity, to type string. Clear, everybody, why we are using $string? It's a function, it's an inbuilt function which helps me to change the closing balance to type string. Now let's see the output. See? Am I getting the output? Right. So the reason why I wasn't getting an output is because of two different data types in the same field. So both have to have a same data type, then only TDL can display it. This is how we are connecting it for one single object. There's a question from Muthu. The symbol underscore shows in the output. What does it indicate? Could you tell me exactly? Are you talking about the primary? In the primary, just before the primary, there is a symbol, a special symbol. Are you talking about that, Muthu? Right. Muthu, every internal text that you see will have that special symbol which indicates it's a system name. Okay, it's a special symbol which indicates it's a internal name. You will see it in the front of main location also. You will see it in the front of end of list, any, primary, all those system names that we have in default from the TDL will have that special symbol. Okay? Am I clear? Everybody?
Yeah, clear, ma'am.
Okay. So this is how you attach a single object to a report. Joseph, you send me your code that you have tried. We'll see why it is not executing. Probably you do not have a stock item by name ballpoint. That could be the problem. So you will have
that is the problem. Even before we didn't get it. After that we added the company name, what exactly we are having the item. Then we got it.
Right. You need to have the right. Right. Please ensure the name you mention, you have that item name with you. Right? So that's the basic thing. Now, at this point of time, we have already provided the details of that stock item called ballpoint. Now, the next tryout says, create a report to display the batch name, opening balance, and opening rate of stock item ballpoint. Now, a closing or an opening balance can be 1 for that particular stock item, correct? But is it necessary that I will have only one batch for that stock item? Or will I have multiple? How many batch items can you have? I can see only one person responding. What happened to others?
We can have multiple batches.
We can have multiple batches, right?
Yeah.
So it's not a primary object. It's a secondary object. So what can I do is, at my part level, I can add another part. Sorry, at my form level, I will add another part. Here I will define, I will have a line. Anyways, I am not showing it anything related to ledgers here. So I will change this list of ledgers to STK detail. Okay, because anyways I'm not showing anything related to ledgers. So I'll say replace all. Right, all is replaced. Right. Details line. And I'll rename these line also because I'll be using similar line names. I'll name this as 2. Okay, now I'll define this line. And what are the things I need to display? Batch name, opening balance, and opening rate, right? So again, I will need 3 fields. Can't I use the same field again? What will I do is, I will use the same fields that I already exist, and locally I will change their status. So local field name set as batch name plus dollar name, again local field name set as, I need the opening balance plus dollar opening balance, local field name set as opening rate plus dollar opening. Okay. Certainly this might give me an output, might not give me an output, but a question that I have here is, how do I know what are the methods available under stock item? I cannot memorize everything, can I? So this is where the schema plays its role. I can go to the particular object stock item, and the one that you see as a notebook, the notepad which has some lines written on it, are the method names that are available in my object. The one which you see as the green books are the sub-collections. Sub-collections consist of sub-objects. So when I double click, I get the name of the object it contains. And object contains methods. So these are the methods that are available under this object, which is under this collection. Clear, everybody, the utility of schema? utility of the schema. So if you say active from, the data type is date. So let's see, I go for batch allocations. There is something called as name, opening balance, opening rate, opening value. You see, you've got all of them, right? So they should give me the output, right? Everybody, have you understood the utility of the schema? Yes, no. Great. So this is why I will use the schema. I will get my method names. But I wouldn't get this output for one reason. This is of type string and this is of type quantity. So I need to do the data type casting, which is again, I will convert it to type string. So $, string, and I'll just copy paste this and do it for rate also, because rate is of type rate, right? So this certainly looks like I might get the output. So let's see the output. And anyways, I will have to change my title also from stock item detail, and I will change the shortcut to S. Doesn't look nice, right? If I'm showing stock item and I write list of ledger. Here. Oh, but in my batch name it is returning me my ballpoint name. That's my stock item name. And balance, it is showing me 491. Again, this is of my stock item and not of my batch. And same with my opening rate. Why? Because my base primary object is stock item, and that is what my parts are inheriting. If I want my part 2 to give me the output of batch, I need to change its inheritance. So at part level, object colon, and I will provide the details of my sub-object. However, I do not know what is my sub-object, right? But I know the name of the collection. So I have the collection name as batch allocations, and I identify each row as one object. So I will provide an object identifier. Okay. Now the problem is I cannot memorize each and every syntax, and that's absolutely okay that you do not remember every syntax. It's highly impossible to remember all the syntax. So what do we do is, I will try to search for this attribute in my default. I will try to search for the object attribute object attribute at part definition in my default. So in my navigation pane, I have something called as attribute references, definition type called part. I am looking for something called as object attribute, and you find it in my default TDL project and search. You see, there are certain locations we have done that. So simply double click on that and you see, oh, we have written the collection name and the index. You'll notice everywhere collection name, index, and there is a, what do you say, a condition. So the syntax goes as my schema, batch allocations first. First is a keyword. This is a secondary collection under primary object batch allocation and first indicates the first sub-object. And we'll just break this sentence. Now let's see the output. F12 TDL F4. Now has it changed? The batch name is not coming at all because this could be a invalid method. Batch name. Now see the output. Is this clear to everyone? Okay, yes. I have done a typecasting to okay. There's a question from Muttu. You have associated stock item at report and batch allocation at part. How we know where to hook? That's why we have schema, Muttu. Obviously, you cannot come to know just overnight. Everything cannot happen. It will take time for you to understand the schema, but that's absolutely okay. But at least you know what you're looking for. I'm looking for something called as batch, and batch can be only in my stock item. So my object called stock item has a batch allocation, and in batch I have these method names. Now another way to look at this is probably for few people, this might not be a very friendly way to, locate, what do we say, the data. What we can do is, in Tally, from Tally, export the data into an XML format, and you'll get with the values, so you know what you're looking for. List of accounts, export this into XML. You will get the list of methods that we have. Stock items is into XML. Sorry, it's going into Excel. Oops. Yeah. And when I do this, it creates an XML file in my system. Master.xml, where is it? Here. Open it, probably in a notepad or whatever you want. And you can see to the bottom here. I'm looking out for ballpoint here. Stock item name is ballpoint, and it is under category called accessories. Parent is not there, that means it's under primary. Costing method, base units, these are the tag names, are the method names. So this is how you can identify the names of the methods. So now there's a batch allocation. It has a go down name, it has a batch name, it has opening balance, it has opening value, opening rate. See, this XML might not give you the complete coverage because it is missing on the closing values. But at least it will allow you to give some base. And this is a kickstart. Then gradually you can actually, view your things into the schema, which will give you a better view. This is a better view. We'll give you some more details like bill purchase quantity and bill sale quantity, which your XML definitely does not give. But this could be a kickstart to it. Am I clear to everybody? I see only 2 people responding again. Thanks, Ali. What about Joseph?
Yes, clear.
Great. So clear with the association at the report level and the part level. Secondary object. We did secondary object. We are still pending with the object EX. Okay. And then, right. So we have already done this. Now, to this same form, we will add another bottom part. And to this bottom part, I will display a ledger detail. See, ensuring that, more or less the same things will happen, like name refers to name, which could be a ledger name or stock item name, anything. We have kept the method names very common. So dollar name will refer to whatever you want. So depends upon the object association. So I'll start with something very basic. Again, I will just create a line. And again, I will use the same field. I will not, it's no use of creating new fields always. So I'll use the same field and just locally, I will change its value. And here I will say name. And I will just change the color of this part. Where is my bottom part? Oh, I haven't defined my bottom part, is it? So, yeah, bottom part isn't defined by me. You see, part. It has a line. And I can change, I'll just change this background color so we can easily identify it to, say, green. Right? Now simply refresh my TDL. F12, TDL, F4. Fine. And display, try it out, stock item. You see at the bottom, there's something in my green color. Right? So, but I wanted to show the name of my ledger. It says, show the name of the ledger called Ram and Company. So, I have a facility at my part level where I can say object EX. Which object do you want to associate it? Open round bracket, ledger, comma. What is the name of that ledger? Ram and Co. Does it have a dot? Yes. Close rounded bracket and full stop. This is the syntax. Object EX colon open round bracket object type comma the name of the object, that's an object identifier, close round bracket and dot. And since the name of the ledger is always a string, it is within the inverted quotes. Now let us refresh and check. S12 TDL F4. See at the bottom. And now I'll do one more thing. I'll add one more field. And I'll give the name of the parent. Parent is nothing but the group name, but we associate it to be calling as parent, $parent. Now see the difference. See? Capital account. I'll just increase the font style. In case I want to increase the font style of all the fields within this line, what is the keyword? What is the keyword?
Style?
No. That's an attribute for the field. I want to know the keyword which says all fields. What's the keyword for all the fields? There was a keyword I discussed. Yes, default is the keyword. So what do I write is local field default, which means all fields, change the style to large bold. Large bold is a style defined already. So I'll simply refresh my TDL, F12 TDL F4. See? So now how many ever fields I add to this line? This will be its text. Clear, everybody? Great. And now the final thing that we will show is the association at line level. So I would not merge it further with this. Try it out again. I'll just create another try it out. Okay, so properties, new file, stock detail, and save. I'll just copy whatever I have here into that file because I just changed my entire code, right? And here I will add list of ledgers. Or shall I take, what is the, okay, this is a list of stock item, right? So list of stock item. List of stocks, fine. I can't have S again, so L and TSPL stock STK list. Fine. Now this again has to be a report. Oh, but I have my file name as ledgers. I'll just make it as ledgers. What we see for stock would be for the ledgers. Don't worry. So again, report containing form, containing parts, containing line, line containing field and field is where I display my data. Fine. I'll just, since the new file added, I'll just quit, restart. Select company, right, display, try it out, list of ledgers, right, name is display. Okay. Now, my line should be vertical, right? My list of ledgers has to be vertical. That means I need to have multiple lines. How many lines should I create to get my ledger names? So is there a predefined list of ledgers that I can have only 15,000 ledgers, or I can have 25,000 ledgers, or only 1 lakh ledgers? Do I have that predefined list? How many ledgers can I create in Tally? Do you have any restriction as such?
No restrictions.
Absolutely, there is no such restriction. Then how do I know how many lines will appear? Don't know, right? So the repeat attribute at my path helps me to associate my line with a collection. So it acts like helps me to do a replica of the same line depending upon the number of objects that are available in this collection. But what is the object of this collection? So what do I want to show in this collection? What do I want to show?
Ledgers.
Absolutely. So open square bracket, collection definition, the name, the attribute called type, and object type called ledger. Now let's see the output. Are you sure I would get an output? Let's see. Let me refresh F12 TDL F4. Refreshed. Try it out. List of stock items. I haven't getting any output. Why? What is wrong? 1. Have I associated any method here? No. Have I provided anything here? No. Let me associate a method. $name. Now to this collection I have my object. Let's see what do I have. F12 TDL F4. Ouch! I cannot see what is written on the screen. I can see some graph kind of things, but they are not visible. Is it something to do with the field style? Let me just try to change the field style. Oh, but how many times or to how many fields do I keep applying the style every time? For these kind of fields, we have some predefined list of templates, and we can use those templates of field, and we have a template field called name field. I have a template field called name field. So there is a list of all the template fields available which we use in default Tally. Field called default, dummy option, small size, field. Huge list we have. You can use that list. So I'm just using your name field. Now let's see the output. Does it help me or not? F12, TDL, F4. Still, does it help me? There is one feature that generally I see. I go to display list of accounts, and at the bottom it shows something as 502 more. That means I'm allowed to scroll further. Correct? But in my report, it doesn't scroll. That's the problem. So where I give repeat, I have to say scroll vertical. Repeat and scroll vertical 99%, 99.99% will go hand in hand. So let's refresh and check. So, do I get what I am requiring? Yes. Now I'll just make one small change. Okay? I have written as repeat line name, collection name, and scroll vertical. As I said, repeat at part level and scroll vertical goes hand in hand. The field and the method name and the template field. Type ledger. I will just change this to type stock item. Remember, there was a statement I made when we were talking about the object context. Every method and formula is evaluated based on the object context is connected to. Though my method name is still $name, now my object associated at my line is now stock item, and now when I refresh my TDL, it changes to stock item. The same TDL, just the object type is changed to stock item, and my list is stock item. And I just change back to ledger, and it's again ledger. Simple? Yes or no? So, collection acts as a bridging in between the interface objects and the data sources, whether it could be the internal, external, TDL object. Report level, form level, part level, it is an object. At line level, a collection is the object association. Methods is what we talk about. I think this is enough for the day. And going further might confuse you, right? So we'll take a break for the day and we will continue tomorrow. We have completed up till object association and the collection and the connections. So we have completed up till here. So shall we continue or we shall take a break for tomorrow for the day? I'm asking everyone. It's not my opinion. I'm asking everyone.
We can continue, ma'am.
We can continue, everyone?
We can continue, everyone?
Right. Right. So we'll continue. So we have method names. These are the various methods that you call your methods. One we already used, that is the dollar and the method name directly. Then there is something called as object reference. That is, you provide the method name, the object type, and the formula from the current object. Then using the index, that's through function. And then direct specific object association, that's what we use for object EX. So this is one example. Assuming that the current context mentioned that the report level is object voucher. Then when you write $party ledger name, you get the party ledger name. When you write the $, collection field, the $stock item name first inventory, you get the first stock item name. Then similarly, when you write the function $, collection field, $, batch name, first inventory entries. In first inventory entries, you will have, in the inventory entries, you will have to modify the object and then refer. See, this is like a vicious circle. being at the repoucher level directly, I cannot call a value from batch allocation. I will have to traverse through the path, and one way is by calling the functions to traverse that. But that is, traversing is okay through function when it is one level. But when it gets into multiple levels, it is so difficult to traverse through the path by calling functions, is because it will just simply keep evaluating over and over and over again, making your system performance very low. This is also the right way. It allows you to do, and you can do, but a judgment is to be made if the calling and utility of the function is multiple times and it is avoidable to avoid using a function at this level, because the usage of the function might hamper the performance of your report. Then we do have some relative objects. These functions allow me to traverse down the line. These functions allows me to traverse up the line. So there is something called as report object, which being at the line level allows me to connect myself to the object associated at my report level, and I can call the value. $owner allows me to move one level higher to the current object context and fetch the value. So if my current object context is batch allocations, as in this particular code that we have, I have moved to batch allocations here. So in case I want the stock item name, I can use $owner to move up the line. And if I want something directly from the primary object, so somewhere I am down the line and I have already referred to some different secondary object, and somewhere fourth, fifth level down the line I am in the hierarchy, and I want a value from my stock item, I can simply say $base owner. Or if I want to move one by one upwards the chain, I will have to keep saying $owner, colon $owner, colon $owner, colon $. So the number of level I have to walk upwards, I will have to write $owner. So there is a method formula syntax specifically developed in version Tally ERP 9 Series A release 1.0. From that point of time, there's something called as method formula syntax made available, which helps me to call my values through a dotted syntax. Something similar to DOS prompt commands, where you can say cd/cd ... and cd/ and you can move up and down the directory or change the directories. So here we have something called as absolute path and relative path. When I talk about an absolute path, it means you are trying to refer to a different object. So if my current entire report is into an object context of stock item, and you want to fetch value from ledger, you can say dollar, open round bracket, object type ledger, comma, the identifier formula, object identifier formula can be a variable, can be a system formula, can be a direct text, anything that evaluates to the name of that master, because a unique identification that Tally holds to identify a master, it's through its name. For example, how do I every organization identifies every single employee through its employee number. Similarly, Tally identifies every master through its name. So when I have to fetch a value from an absolute path, you need two important things. You need the object type. You should know the object type. And object identifier formula, which could be a formula, a variable, or a text, or a field reference, whatever it is, but a formula which identifies the name of the master and a dot. and then you can call, like, see, there is an example we have given here, dollar, open round bracket, comma, cash, close round bracket, which means that you need to go to an object type called ledger, which its name is cash. In the cash, dot. Now dot acts as a separator, dot, to change the path from the cache main primary object. Bill allocation is the sub object to which you need to drive in. Open square bracket is then, now the moment you go to the sub object, the sub object identifier becomes its number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that is an object identifier you need to specify. Comma, the condition if required, like there are criteria that you could have. Close square bracket, dot, the opening balance. Now this dot that you see after dot, the opening balance, this is what is understood to be the method name. If I had a dot after this, it would have understood that this opening balance is another collection. So the last one that you have is the method. So how do we read it? I need the opening balance from the bill allocations, the first bill allocation which exists in the primary object called ledger, and its name is cash. This is how we read it. Rahmat has a question. Yes, Rahmat? Rahmat, you have raised your hand, I see that. Do you have a question?
Yeah, ma'am, I'm having some questions.
Yes, tell me.
Yeah, like can we get one example, like one entry in the tally itself, like illustrating that and how we have to call in using this syntax?
We'll be doing the samples, don't worry.
Okay.
Right now, I'm just making you familiar with the things, because when I start writing it, it shouldn't be a very big shock to you. So you can just have a look on what we are doing, and we will be writing the samples. Don't worry, right? Again, these are some more samples. You can just read through once. Sorry. People wanting to can just make a note of it. Everybody has made a note of what's on the presentation.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. And these are some more examples to it, samples to it. Okay. some relative specifications. These are some set of, I wouldn't call it as a rules, but these are some set of syntaxes that we have for method formula syntax. Only the method names are mandatory, something that what we have specified in our code. $, is mandatory. Rest everything is dependent upon the utility that you have. Whenever there is a sub collection that you are using while writing the code, for example, here I have attached an object, right? I'll just comment this object, and here is where I will just connect my object now. I will say batch allocations. Right now an assumption is the part is in the context of stock item dot batch name. This is the collection name and this is the method name. This is how it is understood. If index is not specified for the collection, this is an index not specified for the collection, it is assumed to be 1. So if I do not specify anything here, assumption is 1. So whether you want it to be assumed or not is your choice, but if you want, it's always preferable that you mention 1. Right? I'll do one thing. I'll make some minor changes in my ballpoint stock item. And I'll give some batch details there. Here, main location, test batch 2. Okay, test 1. I'll just change it to 500. And main location. And I say, I'll give some rough number. And I say the opening balance is 250. Save. Okay, now just have a very close look on what does my output give. See, here I'll just color the field background here so we know what we are changing. I'm specifically changing the background color of this field to blue. Okay, so that we know what is happening, right? Yeah. So this is what we are changing, and I'll just make the, okay. Now, I have specified 1. I'll just remove this one and see what happens. It's still that. Now I specify as 2. The blue doesn't look very, I mean, we're not able to view the text clearly, right? I'll just change it to red. And refresh. See, test 1. Notice this. Obviously, this is not changing because that's what I haven't given. But you can notice what is happening. Now I say I'll give a condition. First batch for which dollar opening balance or dollar batch name contains I forgot what name I had given. Okay, ASEW. So we'll give batch name contains AS. Okay. Yes. Right. So you see, notice this. My condition is within the rounded brackets. Dollar batch name will evaluate in the context of batch allocations. Now, because this is a conditional format and it is to be evaluated is why I have given dollar batch name. Here dollar batch name is not required because the method name for that is already provided here. Now see the output. See this? Though according to the sequence which is in the third line, according to the condition, this is the first one which is matching my given criteria. But if I remove this criteria, it gives me the first batch name. And if I write last, it gives me the last name. Now say I want second last. So there is no keyword called a second last. So what do we do is open round bracket minus 2 close round bracket. That is to indicate second last. So I'll just show that F12 TDL F4. See this second last. So 1 is to start from the top and minus 1 means to start from the bottom. Clear? Is this clear with everybody? The reason why I have to explicitly mention is because my current object context is stock item. But if I have mentioned this, I do not have to do all this. There's a difference. So it's not necessary everything is applicable at everywhere. Depending on the utilities that you have, it is mentioned. Your first, then I say last. See, it's working. Fair enough? So conditions are again, yes Muthu, conditions can also be given depending upon the requirement. Negative index denotes a reverse search. There are just 2 keywords that we have, first and the last. Otherwise you have to give the index number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. An object identity formula is anything that evaluates to the name of the master. Muthu has a question. Can we give first or last instead of the condition? No, Muthu, it's not instead of the condition. You can provide it after the condition. First. And here you can provide your condition. First, dollar batch name contains. Yes. It's after. It's not instead. Indexing is mandate. Condition is optional. You may provide condition. You may not provide condition. But indexing is mandate. Right? Right. And these are the operators that we use. Dot to change the direction of the object context. The square brackets for index operator of the collection. And comma for the expression separator. Well, this is what we have for today. Let's try to create this little report, a try-it-out that you will have to do. So, this is your homework. Try to get maximum columns that you can. So this will be a title line, and a line which will have repeat, and it will have and the line will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 columns. 1, 2, 3 and 4 will come from voucher. The 5th column comes from the ledger object, and the 6th column comes from the ledger object's bill allocation. Just try to fetch maximum values, and definitely please send me your codes. I do not see a proactive participation of developing and sending the codes. It is okay with me to share out my codes, that is not a big deal, but then if I share out my codes, it will be difficult for you to learn it. So I request everybody.
He sent the email, you got it?
Yes, I have got I have got only 2 or 3 people sending me the code. That's what I said. I do not see much active participation in developing and sending me the codes. So I request everybody to give an active participation in doing this, because it is gets difficult to understand what have you understood. Right? So please ensure that we have the maximum participation while you are sharing or writing codes. So I can help you further. That's the only thing, because once these sessions are over, we might not be in touch, and I might have to redirect you to the support team. So we have very limited time to share with each other. Share as much as you can, ask questions as much as you can, because it's the right platform to do that, right? So, and people,
to do this report, we have to fetch the vouchers, right? In collection?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So you'll have a lot of things to do in that report. So let's see how creative you can get. Not necessary that you only do this. You can see, I have given you a very basic design. Use your creativeness to make it more better. This might not be the only best way to show this report. You might be able to show me something better out of this. Absolutely okay. Right? So something like something like this at least should what my report should look like, and then it will cover whatever we have done. So again, tomorrow same time we'll be meeting up with your question answers. Please spend time on developing code. I will spend time on going through the codes that you have sent, and I am hoping that the code that I have got from Brand Mark, individuals are developing their codes and sending it to me, and it's not a group development.
Yes, ma'am.
It should be an individual development.
Okay, fine. I will inform everyone to do it.
Right? It has to be an individual development. I do not want group work. Anyways, later down the line, you will be doing a group work. It will be a teamwork only whenever you develop a further project. But as per the individual, how far you have gained knowledge on TDL, for that I require your individual codes. Okay? So this is something very basic things that we have gone through. And now from tomorrow onwards, we'll be making little more practical codes. So please ensure that you go through what we have done today. Yes, I will be first half an hour I'll be revising what we have done, but obviously cannot be in such a detailed one what we have spent these 3.5 hours. So please ensure you keep yourself very clear on this. You have a question, ask me right away, or we can start leaving the session.
Yeah, ma'am, one small question. Like, under this thing, we use the object, right?
Yes.
What is the difference between object and object EX? Like, when we have to use object and when we have to use object EX?
It's not when we have to use and when we have to use object and when we have to use an object EX. The right question is, what is the difference between the object and the object EX? The difference that we are talking about is an object at part level can be called only if report is having an object attribute, then only at part level you can make use of an attribute called object to call a secondary object of that particular primary object specified at report level. What do I mean to say is, if at my report I have mentioned this, if this is what I have mentioned in my report, object stock item colon ballpoint, then at my part level it makes sense to TDL that I have written object colon batch allocations colon first colon condition, because object attribute at part level can only identify a secondary object of the primary object specified at report level. Clear? Now, why an object EX? Now, this attribute at part level is required when I need my entire particular part to be completely out of the way. The entire report, all the parts in this report will be associated to stock item. But for a particular part of this report, I want it to be connected to a different primary object in itself. A completely different primary object. Report level, I can associate a primary object. Now that is stock item. Now I want a particular part to associate itself to a different primary object, a different root itself, then it is an object EX. For an example, as I gave you, when I have an invoice, this is what we talk about, a default invoice. It's just an example that I'm giving you. Preview is enabled. Print preview, yes. Right. The entire report that you see, all this picks up from my voucher object. But this particular block of my part picks my values from my company object. Right? So, when a particular part needs to be connected to a completely different object, I can use object EX. So, in this particular report, I have two primary objects. One primary object is voucher, which is linked to my entire set of work, and one primary object which is just changing this area so that I can have my company details. Company name, address, email ID, phone number, whatsoever I want to do. Clear? Brand?
Yes, clear now.
So that's the reason.
We had a certain doubts about yesterday's class, that variable. We referred in the email. So
I will clear it through email.
email only. Okay. Fine.
Yes, I'll do that. Right? Fine. So.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Ali has a question. How do you carry out basic arithmetic and set a field value to the answer? How do you carry out a basic arithmetic and set a value to an answer? Simple. I mean, you mean to say multiplication and division? I simply say 2 plus 2. And I just check my output. Okay, I don't even know where did I change. Yes, sorry. Yeah, at the bottom it's become 4. Or I say or exponential 2 multiplied by 8. Here, 16. You could be the possibility that you are using within in the inverted quotes, or you are using the use name field template. That is always existing for name field, and the data type is string. You can check with the use of number field. That will help. Right? Fine. So we can start leaving for the session, and I would be sending you the link where the recorded web sessions are available. A good news for everybody. The web sessions finally are ready to upload, and I have uploaded at a specific location, and I'll be sharing that link with you all. I do not see the numbers. Okay, yeah. Right. So I'll be sharing that link with you people. So even today's will be shared with you. So no worries at all. Right? Fine. So shall we leave for the day and come back tomorrow 3 o'clock, everybody? Right? Okay, fine. Bye. Thank you. Bye, Muthu. Have a nice day. Thank you, Rachna. I mean, whoever is on behalf of Rachna, have a good day. Joseph, you have a question? Okay, thank you. Have a nice day. You may leave the session. Sorry, Joseph, I couldn't get you. You said, could you send me the first part? First part of? It's just you and me, so I think I can unmute you. Yeah, tell me. What exactly do you require, Joseph? Yeah, I will give you the recorded session itself, right? So don't worry, we'll do that. Okay? Yeah. Bye.